Hey family, happy Sunday. It's time for another episode of our Fancy Thoughts. And a fancy thought is a fostering achievement, never compromising you thought, where my desire is to inspire and ignite the greatness that's on the inside of you so that you can release it. As a reminder, I am Francesca Hampton and I am the creator of Live Fancy Life. We want you to live a life that's fostering achievement where you never compromise who you are. And our desire is that you come to know that there is greatness on the inside of you. And it was created so that you could impact and change the world around you. This week's Fancy Thoughts are going to piggyback off of our last episode where we talked about balance and perspective. We talked about finding the place where your where your passion meets your capacity. We also talked about perspective, where you need to make sure you have a clean and clear lens through which you view people and situations so that you can see things the way they really are and not just the way that you perceive them to be. And so this week, I think these 2 points that we want to talk about today they fall right in line with those two thoughts. So our first thought is about boundaries. When we talk about balance, in order to create the right level of balance, it does require us to have a great level of boundaries. And boundaries are setting up the things that are priority to you, and then setting kind of guardrails around your time, around your investment, and around the people that you choose to interact with. And so, what do I mean when you say creating boundaries? One of the most key important things about boundaries is that you have to learn the ability to say no. And that's extremely hard if you've ever been a person that's used to saying yes, or you've been around people who are used to you saying yes. And then you now have to say no. And why do we have to say no? Because we have to reprioritize the things that we can become involved in, the things that we can give our time and effort to, and the things that we choose to talk about. Think about it. If you are starting a new business or a new venture, or if you're just taking a new direction in your life, the things that you used to be able to do, even the things that you used to be able to talk about, may change. And so you have to be comfortable enough with yourself and with what's important to you to be able to help others to understand that my time is a little bit different now. What I used to be able to do, how I used to be available always has to change a bit, because I'm pursuing something that's important and I have to prioritize my time, my attention, and my investment. And trust me, that's not an easy thing. It's something that I'm even working on, doing a little bit more diligently. But it is important and it is imperative in order for you to accomplish the greatness that you were created to accomplish. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to like it. And that's okay. Because those that are supportive of your journey and who want to be a part of your success will understand and appreciate will understand and appreciate your boundaries, and will actually want to be able to fit within them because they see and want the best for you. So again, our first one is learning how to create boundaries, healthy boundaries. The other thing that we're talking about that I think is so important is transparency. And why is that important? Or what do I mean by that? Transparency is the ability to be vulnerable and to be open in the right circumstances to the right people. And that is so important because transparency requires the removal of the mask, of the impression, of the state of mind or the state of being that has been put in place for the approval or the viewpoint of someone else. A lot of times when we're going through a journey, when we're stepping into something new, we can often put our best foot forward. But that best foot isn't always our best foot. It's the best foot we think other people want to see. But when we talked about before, we talked about authenticity. With authenticity comes transparency. And you have to be able and willing to be transparent in the right circles with the right people. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to step into the fullness of what you were created to do. If you have to completely and continuously keep a mask on, or keep up a facade or an impression, or a version of yourself that is pleasing to others, you'll never be able to walk in the fullness of who you were created to be because you're not free to be yourself. And so transparency is required in the deepest and the most intimate of our relationships. If you have a mentor, or if you have a sponsor, or if you have a best friend, especially if you have a spouse. It is so important that you are transparent, that you are open, and that you are willing to be vulnerable. Because only then can the areas that we need to improve on and perfect are able to be exposed and then dealt with. It's not a bad thing to be transparent. It's not a bad thing to be vulnerable, as long as you can do so with the right people and under the right circumstances. So the key thing about that is making sure that you know who those people are, that you can be transparent, open, and vulnerable with. And if that answer is no one, it's time to expand your circle to a different set of people. You have to have someone that you can be transparent and open with, because we all are growing. None of us have arrived. None of us have achieved the epitome of ourselves. We are consistently growing and improving. And in order to do so successfully, you have to have the right people in your circle and in your network. And someone in that circle has to be one that you are comfortable being transparent, vulnerable, and open with. So, again, just as a recap, this week I wanted to remind you, you have to create healthy boundaries in order to reprioritize the things that are important for you accomplishing your goal. And make sure in your network, in your circle, you have someone that you can be transparent, vulnerable, and open with. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to truly achieve the success and greatness that you were created for. I hope once again that this week's Fancy Thoughts help to inspire you and ignite greatness on the inside of you. I encourage you to share and like these thoughts so that you can not only inspire and help someone else, but also that these will somehow just glide across someone's feed and they too will be able to be blessed by what you are hearing today. As a reminder, all of these are available for you on